Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Math with Dr. War. I'm going to be starting a new series on Friday called Mini Task Test Review, and this is because I saw an increase of views on the Practice Task Test Part 1 and Part 2. And this indicates that a lot of folks out there are getting ready to go and take their tests, whether it's in a paper form or on the computer. So to help you and give you a selection of problems, I'm doing these mini task test review where I'm going to be focusing on 5 questions, which are medium and high emphasis from the 5 areas of the task test, which is number and quantity, statistics and probability, functions, algebra, and geometry, to help you reach your goal of getting that 500 on the TAS exam. Now, here's a little thing to know. When you go take that TAS exam, you don't need to get all of the questions correct. You just need to get half of them right. Half. And if you can do that, you're on your way to reaching your goal. So let's begin. The first problem I'm going to start with is algebra, where we're going to be solving linear equations, and this is high emphasis. Now, one of the things on the task test is everything is a word problem. Everything. So they're not going to simply just throw an equation up there and tell you to solve it. Sometimes they do, but sometimes they put it in a word problem like this. So in this problem, it says a student bought concert tickets online. The total cost, and then they put the variable C in dollars. So this is very important. They said the total cost is C. So C represents your total cost, and this is in dollars of T tickets. So T represents tickets, can be found using the function below. So the function they're giving us is C equals to $24.50 T plus $9.50. If a student spent a total of $83 on tickets, the question is, how many tickets did he buy? Now, when I look at this question, I notice that this equation has 2 variables, a C and a T. So you cannot solve it. Whenever you're solving an equation, it must only have one variable, which means we have to replace either C or T. And you're replacing it with 83. So who is the 83? Is it C for cost or T for tickets? Because it said if a student spent a total of $83, that is your total cost. And again, look at the question. They're asking you how many tickets. So you need to find T. You got to find tickets. So that $83 is not for T, it's for C. So you have 83 equals $24.50 with your T plus $9.50. Now you're solving for T. This is a 2-step, which is pretty simple. I tell my students put a box around the T because sometimes they don't know who to eliminate when they're solving. So your aim when you're solving a linear equation is you want to isolate the variable. You want to get it by itself. However, we have 2 things here attached to your variable, $24.50 and $9.50. You're going to get rid of the $9.50. Whoever is closest to the box, you get rid of last. We do the opposite. You're going to subtract $9.50 from both sides. This goes. Now, if this was on the calculator section, you'll take out your calculator. You'll put 83 minus $9.50. You get $73.50. And that equals to your $24.50 T. Now remember again, we're solving for T. We want to get T by itself. That T is connected to the 2450 by multiplication. The opposite of multiplication is division. So we're going to divide both sides by 2450. That cancels. You get T. If we get our calculator. Now notice I did not clear my problem. I'm going to go in and divide by 2450. And notice my answer is 3. 3 tickets. That is how many he bought. So since it's a grid, you can enter your 3 anywhere. I'm going to put it here. So first write it at the top and then shade in your 3 and you're finished. The second problem I have here is a functions problem. This is also high emphasis. So on the task test, you have to be able to evaluate a function. So it says if px equals, so you have p of x equals 5x squared plus 1, close the parentheses, and then you have plus 16, and they want you to find p11. That 11 represents your x. So wherever you see x, you're going to replace it by 11. And what are you doing with the x? You're squaring it. So you got to square 11 plus 1, close the parentheses, and then add 16. Once you've replaced x by its numerical value, functions is over. This is now, please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. So parentheses are first. So inside of your parentheses, we have 2 operations. We have exponents right here, and you have addition. Who would be first? Exponents. 11 squared is 121. Then we're going to add 1. We're still in the parentheses, add 16. We're going to complete the parentheses. So 121 plus 1 is 122. Plus 16. Now stop, look at your calculation. What do you have? You have multiplication and addition. So who would be first? Multiplication. Now this is pretty simple. You can go on the side and you can take 122 times it by 5. That's 10. That's 10 again, plus 1 is 11. That's 5 and 1 is 5 and 1 is 6. So that's 610. And then you have to add 16. So if we put 16 here, you get 6, 2, 6. So your answer is 626. Now, if you could use the calculator on this, because remember the task test is 2 parts. Part 1, you can use a calculator. Part 2, you can't use a calculator. So if I could not use a calculator, this is the way I would solve it. If you can use a calculator, when you substitute 11 for x, then you're going to put all of this here that I'm circling in green into your calculator. So 5, open parentheses, 11 squared plus 1, close the parentheses, plus 16, and enter. And there's your answer, 626. Let's move on to a statistics and probability question. This is medium emphasis. I find that most of the statistics and probability are medium emphasis, medium and low. This is a causation problem, and I did a video on that, so let's check this out. It says, which situation best represents causation? So remember, causation means that you have a part A, which is the cause, and part B would be the effect. And you have to ask yourself if that effect is true. So we're going to go through all 4 scenarios. The first one says, when the number of bus stops increases, okay, that's your cause. Is the effect the number of car sales decreasing? No. If you increase the number of bus stops, that does not mean that car sales will go down. When fewer firefighters report to a house fire, and wherever you see the comma, that tells you, okay, that's your cause. Is the effect the damage caused by the fire decreases? No, if you have fewer firefighters, the damage caused would increase. C, when ice cream sales increase, that's your cause. Is the effect incidence of sunburn increase? No. Just because you have more people buying ice cream does not mean that that's going to cause an increase or uptick in sunburn. So your answer is D. You can check this out. It says when it rains several inches, this is the cause, is the effect the water level of a lake increases. Yes, that is true. Geometry. We're going to be applying the Pythagorean theorem. This is a medium emphasis problem. And little note, Pythagorean theorem is one of those questions on the Tasc test that have like the lowest, one of the lowest rate of students getting this problem correct. And I don't know why, but make sure that if you see Pythagorean theorem, you're able to identify it and get it correct. And I'll show you how. So this says Gwendolyn placed a 10-foot ladder against the side of her house so that the base of the ladder was 3 feet from the base of the house, as shown in the diagram. So here we have the ladder, which is 10 feet, and notice it's 3 feet from the base of her house. And it says which measurement in feet is closest to D. So it says closest to D. The distance from the top of the ladder to the ground, which is from the top to the ground. So the first thing, how do you identify that this is Pythagorean theorem? First and foremost, you see a right triangle. And you know a right triangle because it has that box right here. Now, if you have a right triangle and it's missing a side, because notice this is 3, this is 10, you're missing this side here. Let's call it X. So if you have a right triangle and it's missing a side, and you have to find that side, you're using Pythagorean theorem. A squared plus B squared equals C squared. Now, you got to figure out who's A, who's B, who's C. I always try to identify C first. And C, I find that because the right angle always points to C, which is 10. So 10 is your C, which is your hypotenuse, which is your longest side. So I'm going to replace C by 10 squared, which means that X and 3 are your legs. So I'm going to say A is X, so that's X squared. And I'm going to say B is 3 squared. You have the hypotenuse. The hypotenuse is the longest side. So your answer for this question cannot be greater than 10. So right away, you can eliminate F. Your answer for X must be less than 10. So you're kind of stuck now because you have G, H, and J. So you still got to do some math. But that would help you if you need to narrow down an answer. So we're going to do our math. We're going to have X squared plus 3 squared is 9 because it's 3 times 3. And 10 squared is 10 times 10, which is 100. And we got to solve for X. So we're going to get rid of the 9. So I'm going to subtract 9 from both sides. And I have X squared equals to 91. So when you get here, you have to find X. So in order to find X, you're going to take the square root of both sides. This will give me X equals. Now, if this is not on the calculator section, don't get scared. Who is the closest perfect square to 91? So we know that 10 squared is 100, right? And 9 squared is 81. So 91 falls between 9 and 10. So your answer here has to be 9 point something. You get where I'm going? Let me repeat that again. You're looking for the closest perfect square to 91. Now I know that the closest one to 91 is 81 because that's 9 squared. You got to know your squares. And 10 squared is 100. So without even getting a calculator, my answer is J. If it's on the calculator section, so we're going to go second function x squared. I'm going to put in 91, go to the right, and enter. Your calculator might say square root 91, but that's not helping us because our answer is a decimal. You're going to have to press the toggle. When you press the toggle, you get 9.53939. Yeah, you get where I'm going. So your answer is 9.5. Okay, final questions, number and quantity. And I chose the concept where you have to rewrite radicals and rational exponents using exponents. And this is high emphasis. So in this question, they say for x greater than or equals to 0. So don't worry about that. Students see this and they worry about it. I don't worry about that, like whatever. They said which equation is false. So in this problem, you have to use the laws of exponents. And then once you've used the laws of exponents, you then have to rewrite your rational exponent as a radical. Let's start with the first one. You have x raised to 3 over 2, and all of that is squared. Now, this is the power rule. You have a base raised to an exponent and raised to another exponent. For the power rule, when you have a power raised to a power, we have to multiply. So if you go to the side and you have 3 over 2, and you're multiplying by 2, and if you make that a fraction, that's 2 over 1. Best thing about multiplying fractions, just go straight across, folks. 3 times 2 is 6. 2 times 1 is 2. 6 divided by 2 is 3. When you divide, you get a whole number. So your answer here is supposed to be x to the third. X to the third cannot be written as a radical. Your answer is number 1. You should have gotten just x to the third. Here they have the fourth root of x to the third. You can try the others. You have x to the third raised to the 1 over 4. So you have 3, make it a fraction, over 1. You're multiplying by 1 over 4. This would be, again, multiply straight across, 3 over 4. So this would be x raised to the 3 over 4. Now, if we need to write that as a radical, here's your base x. Remember, the 3 here is your power. The 4 here is your root. So the 4 has to be here and the 3 is here. That is correct. Let's do it again. You're going to have to multiply these two. So this is 3 over 2 times 1 over 2. That's 3 over 4. This is your power. This is your root. Think about roots, where roots grow, down here. Power is up here like it's going up in the clouds. So notice where the 4 is at and where the 3 is at. That is correct. Final one, you have 2/3 times 2. Make that a fraction. That's 2 times 2 is 4 over 3. This is your power. This is your root. Where does the root go? That. So this is true. I hope this has been helpful. Good luck on your Tasc examination. And if you like the series, please let me know in the comments. And again, please subscribe, hit that notification button. Good luck on your Tasc test. And again, if you like the content, hit that like button. Have a good day.